And welcome to Sporting Jibberish. I'm Stu Booth.
And I'm Jack Luffman.
On today's show, lots to talk about football based. Everything from Champions League, Premier League transfers, Scottish football, and even the Arabian Gulf League, Jack.
Yes, exciting news there, Stu.
Yeah, good news for you. IPL is heading this way.
Oh, I'm very excited. You know, if there's a few sure, you never know.
Yeah, and talking about excitement, Champions League quiz is starting as from when this goes out recorded.
Tonight.
It will be tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
As we stand today, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Just
Friday, anyway, the 7th.
It's on Friday evening, so make sure you get entries in, but we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. Also, interesting thing happened in Hearn's small back garden.
Yeah,
fight camp.
He's got a little pad, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Old Eddie Hearn.
Then we'll be looking at Jack's story this week.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that still.
Well, you've not even let me even
I know, yeah.
Oh, well, it's not
might be a bit of a twist, actually, to what people might be expecting.
Oh, interesting. But first of all, we're going to start with some breaking news and the Sporting Jibberish race to the 19th Desert Classic. What is that?
Yeah, so while you've been off on the holiday, on your staycay...
As you can see, I'm a bit red
looking a bit tanned down at the Sofitel on the Palm. Matt Aldred been in contact, and as you know, listeners, we played in the golf. There is a WSO Golf Society. We played in the competition last month now, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, there's 4 guys in particular in that in that group. To be honest with you, I don't actually know whether they're still married or got partners, because Matt Aldred, Darren Keane, Paul Fogarty and Tom Kegan, that's all they've been doing is playing golf literally every day.
I'd never guessed by Matt's Instagram stories.
Yeah, I know, and I think the only clothes Matt's bought recently are golf clothes, but looking good. And Jade liked the way he looked anyway. I noticed that on Instagram. Did you see that? Little cutie.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but yeah.
But anyway,
very, very sweet.
We digress. But so he contacted me yesterday going, trying to sort out some birthday drinks for him, actually. And he said, I can't do the weekend. Got a major. I said, what do you mean a major? Well, these 4 Einsteins of the WSO Golf Society are playing a major, the first WSO Golf Society major. 4 rounds, 4 courses. Well, they're going to play the Dubai Creek round 1. They're going to play the Feldo course round 2. They're going to play the Fire course at the Jumeirah Golf Estates round 3, and conclude back at the Feldo over the next, I think, Saturday to Tuesday, I think he said. They're going to play off the handicaps, net score, so none of this Stapleford points rubbish. And I was like, do you know what? Let's get involved. Let's get SJ involved. So we're going to sponsor it, Stu. I don't know what the prize is going to be yet.
All right. I'm a bit disappointed here, because why is the rest of the Golf Society not invited to the major?
There's a bit of a clique in there, let's be honest.
Well, I don't know if I want to sponsor it now.
Okay. Well, anyway, I said we'll sort something out, and we're going to sort some, little odds out maybe on the group. So so we're going to call it this the SJ Race to the 19th, or the Race to the Raddy Red Desert Classic. Starts Saturday, concludes Tuesday.
Right. So if it's starting this Saturday, we need to throw some odds out there now, then, don't we?
Yeah. So
actually, me completely off the cuff here. I'm going to put Keggin as favourite.
It's it big, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a little bit wild. From what I've heard, Kegs, Mum used to be fishing man out of the bush when you were playing your shot, so I believe has improved vastly over the last couple of months. He has all the gear.
Oh, he looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah, have you seen he's got a rangefinder? He turned up to par 3, 9 holes with a rangefinder. I was like, you are busy, mate.
Even with my bad mince pies, I can see how far it is from where we are.
Yeah.
I don't know. They've obviously all been playing well. I think favourite, I'll go with Paul Fogarty. He's been working so hard, and he's just a grafter, and he'll be focused. Yeah. The other 3 will be.
My biggest issue with Fogs is his temperament.
Ooh.
One bad swing, and then the old golf club go.
But you've given Matt a bit of stick actually over the last couple of weeks. Well, actually, most weeks on this podcast, to be fair. Matt, I'm going to back you here. Outside chance. I've had a bit of a chat with him over WhatsApp and said to him, 4 rounds is a marathon, not a sprint. You can't miss the cut, because they're all going to play all 4 rounds anyway. He's off the highest handicap, I believe, so he's going to play off whatever you're going to play off. I think Kegs and Fogs off 17, so he's off the highest handicap. And I just think if he can play well, Matty, he can spring a surprise.
Right, well, I'm going to put my prediction there now. I'm going to go Kegs first. And I'll be nice to Matty. I'm going to get him in second. I think Fogs is going to fall apart. He'll finish third. And Keane will still probably be on the first round of golf while the rest are on the fourth.
It's a bit harsh, Davin. That's a bit from the Golf Society chairman.
Yeah. Well, if I was serious about golf and I was concerned about being allowed back in, I might have picked him as first. I don't think I'm going to get invited back anytime soon anyway.
I'm going to go Foggs, Matty, Keggs and Darren, but all very close. I'll be diplomatic, very, very close.
Yeah.
Very close affairs.
So,
but yeah, good luck with that, and we'll let you know what the prize is. I mean, I don't know. We've got some face masks somewhere.
Could be a hat.
Could be hats.
For those that are listening to the podcast, you're like, what on earth to do? But if you're watching us on YouTube,
we've got some
camera angles.
We've got some merch, and I think we've got a little helper setting up a merchandise website as well, haven't we?
Yeah, Bella is on it at the moment.
Okay,
but
so
yeah, good luck, guys, and we'll keep everybody updated. So is it the next 4 Saturdays?
No, the next 4 days. So they're going to play Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I mean, it's red hot as well.
So we will have a result here this time next week.
Yeah. And maybe what we might do is try and catch up with them. I'm away, but maybe we could catch up with them off Tuesday, or maybe Teachers' Night on Wednesday at the Raddy Red or something. Possibly, that could be your prize. Some free drinks.
Yeah, we'll get you 3 free drinks in the Raddy Red, guys. We're talking about Raddy Red. Champions League quiz. Right, so at the moment the interest is starting to build slowly. Competition starts tonight, or I'll just say Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night, yeah.
Friday night, all you need to do is click on the link, and then it's self-explanatory. You pick what score it's going to be, who goes through. 5 points if you get the score correct, 10 points if you get the team correct, and tiebreaker is what minute will the first goal go in the final. So I've actually had a go.
Colin, I've had a go, I think.
Well, yeah, my prediction is going to be Barcelona versus Paris Saint-Germain in the final.
I can't remember what mine was. I think mine was Paris Saint-Germain, Man City, I think. But does that work?
Yes, Man City in the top half of the draw. I think it's Man City, it's Manchester City, Real Madrid, Juventus.
Atalanta, no, they're in the bottom half.
Paris Saint-Germain in the bottom half of the draw. If I've done it correctly.
You have.
I think
it does work, and the link does work.
Everybody out there asking right now, links, yes, the links do work. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, I actually have.
He has it in front of him there.
Right here, Jack. So it is Real Madrid, Man City, Lyon, Juve, top half of the draw. With Napoli, Barcelona, Chelsea, Bayern. That will go into that semi-final from there. And the bottom half is Leipzig, Atletico Madrid, Atalanta, and Paris Saint-Germain. So I've got Barcelona to make it through. Top half of the door is nasty.
Yeah, I think I've got Man. I just fancy Man City. I just think they might have got the bit between the teeth.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to fall apart against Real Madrid on.
Yeah, you said that all along, haven't you?
I think Real Madrid will be on a high. But interestingly, before we move on to later on in the topic about stuff, Bale's been left out again.
I know. And I read something yesterday that it was an interview that he gave after the Champions League final, which he basically won them against beat Liverpool, and he came on and won it for them. And I think he said in his post-match interview there, other than the first few games of the season, he was unfit, but he's been brilliant. Feels in his bit part in the end. With another 2 seasons after that now, and the same. He's got to move. I noticed there's a lot of pundits are saying that he's man-made for Spurs, but I just don't know. I don't know whether he just likes the lifestyle.
Yeah, the strange thing is what we're talking about Bale is that Bale's been on the radar for a lot of teams, but at the moment there's nobody in the Premiership or around the world talking about Bale moving anywhere at the moment. So if you look on whatever forums and websites you check for transfers, Bale's not been mentioned.
Which is bizarre. I mean, it'd be his wages, I'm assuming, because any side in the top half of that league will take him. He's absolutely class, and I agree with. We might bring up Jamie O'Hara later on in the chat, but I certainly do agree with him from TalkSport the other day that he talks about that. If it was him moving, I think the move to Tottenham would be better because he's got a man-made fan group and things like that already that would love him there. The Spurs fans would love him. But interesting enough, forget clubs. If you're a Wales fan, if you're Ryan Giggs, you want him moving and playing football, don't you? Whether that is in the world, whether that's even if they came over here to play, or surely, because let's be honest, Wales are not a team without Gareth Bale in it.
Oh, they're a one-man team without a shadow. They've got some other decent players in there, but there's your only real class player
who's going to
win you again.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is you talk about Gareth Bale going back to Spurs. I don't think that'd be a good move. I think going back is such a hard thing to do.
It is difficult, yeah.
And he's at the end of his career now. And like you're saying, it's a lot of money for his wages. Would he suit Mourinho's style play?
Very defensive. Paid for him before, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm not. I think if I was Gareth Bale, I'd be looking at maybe a move somewhere.
Oh, side in red?
Italy's a nice. I wouldn't take him at Liverpool because he just sit on the bench for us.
You would think that maybe if he's going to move somewhere in Italy, into Juve, Paris Saint-Germain, maybe in France.
You'd have to go for one of the big clubs.
But it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And while we're on European football, let's say, before you're on to the other stuff, have you seen what's happened to Tottenham?
No, what's happened?
So because of Arsenal, they've got to qualify. So their season Europa League starts like next week or something stupid.
You're going to do a Wolves 8 and I'm to start playing?
Yeah, you've got to play because Arsenal won it. So now we're the lowest ranked qualifying team.
Yeah.
So Jose's got his.
It's a quick turnaround.
He's got his job. He's got to work hard to win it, hasn't he? Because he said he'll try and win it.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about transfers later because Tottenham come on my list, but that'd be interesting, especially with Tottenham having to start. But all in all, Champions League starts on Friday. It's a quick turnaround, 2 weeks, full competition done and dusted. It's a bit like a mini World Cup.
It's interesting whether it could be a way forward potentially at this stage.
Yeah, I like the thought process of it. I did find it strange. Well, I agree. The one legs is an interesting time when it gets to the quarters and the semis. So it's got to be done on the night. So I think it makes it for a more exciting game. I hope that teams don't set up, just to try and nick 1-0. That would be a killer because Atletico Madrid are a type of team that would set up. Just sit there, soak it up. Like they did with Liverpool. Soak it up and then try and nick a 1 goal and then defend for the rest. And I hope that's not how the tournament ends up.
No, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the two-legged affairs anyway, never have been. And I've always thought when, people been talking about, they play too much football, blah, 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 which bizarrely I don't agree with. I mean, they paid plenty of money to play these games, but surely getting rid of two-legged affairs would resolve that to a degree. However, financially,
and your argument there would be then as well: who hosts the game? Would it be drawn just out of a hat?
Drawn? Yeah, just
would it be seeded?
Or you drawn out of it? Just whatever. I mean, it's just as long as everybody knows and it's fair. But I quite like the concept of what they're doing now. To be perfectly honest,
it'd be interesting because Premiership teams coming straight into it, Italian teams coming straight into it, Paris Saint-Germain coming in cold, which will be interesting for them. You could argue that rested, but even the Italian teams, it's not been too strenuous for them. Bayern have had a long layoff.
Yeah, they have. And let's be honest, that return of the German league, although fair play from getting it on first, it was a bit low key. The whole affair, wasn't it?
Yeah, the standard wasn't particularly good, but interesting watching the next few nights. Keeps us entertained for the next couple of weeks, which is good.
Yeah.
Next week we were going to talk about Newcastle and obviously the failings that have just recently happened where Newcastle fans getting very excited. Saudi were going to take over. They were going to buy every single player in the world. Coutinho was going to be there. They were going to win everything. And now they're still stuck with Mike Ashley. So I got into contact with Stuart Burkwood from Radisson Red, who's a massive Newcastle fan. Here's what he had to say.
Hey Stuart, look matey, great to be on your podcast. Love listening to it on a weekly basis and love it when you guys are over at Red. Mike Ashley, look, it's been a long, sad summer. We were, I say, all the Toon fans out there around the world, I think we're looking forward to a change. But it hasn't happened. So what can we do? I think we have to move on. We have to stay together. We have to stay tight, and let's see what the season brings. But another season. It looks like of Mike. But look, I think all hope is not lost. I think we still see a change in the future. Where that comes from, who knows? But we have to remain positive on that. In terms of Premier League safety, I think that's our aim. That's our aim for the year. Is for next season is Premier League safety. That's got to be where we're at. I think we'll be tussling with relegation possibly, but I believe there's probably worse clubs out there than us. So I think we can secure another season in the Premier League, but I think it's going to be tough. That's how I feel it's going to be.
And final one from me is Steve Bruce done a great job this year. Do you agree? And if you if the takeover had happened, would you have wanted to keep Steve Bruce?
Bruce, I think he's done a good job, mate. I think he came in with during pre-season. He joined the team when they were on tour. He had no time to prepare. He couldn't make any signings before the season. Obviously, he made some signings in the January window when he brought in Rose and Bentaleb and Lazaro. I think Bentaleb, I like him. Rose, I'm not convinced. I'm not sure if he's made the move from Tottenham. If it happens, if it'll happen, if he's right. I think he wasn't completely fit. I'm not sure if he was completely attuned to us, but look, Steve Bruce, he's done a good job. You can't knock him. It's pretty much the same points as our man Benitez the year before. We finished where we've been finishing for the last few years, just below mid-table. And I think he's done a good job. He's a Geordie. You've got to back him. Would I have kept him if the takeover hadn't gone through? Yeah, I think we would have probably said give him another season, and let's see what he can do. He knows the players. He's a good manager. I think we have to keep faith with him and get behind him. That's the thing now. Get behind him. Get behind the team, and let's see what the season brings. Fingers crossed we stay up. And I'm not sure if we can progress. It's all going to depend upon the signings. Let's see who we can bring in. Let's see who wants to come in. We have a good base of players there. We've got a good strong squad. We've got a good mentality. We've got a good team ethic, which we can build on. Let's see where the season takes us. Always good chatting to you guys. Thanks for having me on the pod, and I'll keep listening. Take care. Ciao, ciao.
Interesting to hear that from an actual Newcastle fan, is it? Rather than us sort of sat on the sidelines.
I do think Stu's probably, and I like the way that he's been very diplomatic in his answers. I would have preferred him to be a little bit more Geordie, going, no, I want this, but he's been very diplomatic. But
is there not that the female who's been after or been in and around for a while, the lady, I can't think of her name.
I think she heads up the association, so I think she was heading up that Saudi takeover. Well, I think. I don't know if she's linked with an American.
Yeah, I think she's might be linked.
I think she's like one that goes out, finds a suitable club, and then she brings in.
I know they're still saying she's around, but it's big because from a Newcastle point of view, I think, and I know we talked about this earlier a few weeks back I think Steve Bruce has done a fabulous job, and I can't remember now whether did he end up with more points this season than Benitez. I can't remember, that was on the agenda at some point. Yet, Newcastle fans love Rafa, yet they're still out there about Steve Bruce, and I just think that they've done well, and they've got some great footballers for me.
Yeah, I really like Maxi.
And I like John Joe Shelby. I know that he may still have some issues with his temperament, although Bruce has made him captain this year, and he seems to calm that down. I just think of English footballers who play in the middle of midfield as a traditional centre midfield player, he's the best.
Well, he's the best. He's the best person, like a quarterback, isn't he? Yeah. He can literally get the ball and he can ping it left, right and centre. Yeah. I agree with that. I think Almiron's been much better this year.
Definitely.
And if he starts adding a few goals to his game, he will be...
Which he did, to be fair.
Yeah, he started picking up a few goals towards the end of the season. So I think Almiron's going to be one to have a look at for your fantasy football next year. Yeah. But yeah, Stu actually agreed, said Bruce has done a really good job. And he's a Geordie boy, which again Stuart mentioned. So I'm a bit surprised Newcastle were a bit sceptic, or the fans were a bit sceptic of Bruce to start with. But... yeah, fingers crossed he gets given.
But there's no doubt that you need, or as a Newcastle fan, I'm pretty sure, although Stuart was diplomatic, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people out there who want rid of Ashley. And is anybody out there going to take over? Who's got the money to do it? Because it's all right taking over, but then you've got to have the money to play into transfers and things.
I think it's 300 million to take over. Then you're talking about investments in facilities, upkeep of the club. You're talking billionaires need to start looking at football clubs now.
It's not really in my remit at the minute then.
No, even though you're doing all right at work, you're not doing that well.
No, definitely not.
The biggest, what is it called? The most expensive game of football.
Richest game of football, 130 odd million, I think.
Is that what it's worth? And it had to be the worst game of football.
I did. To be fair, I was watching the cricket and then flicking through to that, but following it online, and all everybody was saying online, whether it was pundits, and this is a dreadful game.
Yeah, that was played as a game where both teams set up not to lose. Yeah. I get Scott Parker, hat off, great turnaround, fantastic. But Brentford play the football we've been playing all season, flowing, attacking football, go at teams, have a pop at them. You've been one of the top goal scorers of the season.
Yeah.
Why be so defensive and uptight? Ollie Watkins has been on fire this year. Yeah. Go for it. What's his name? Berami as well. Plays at middle. He's a player.
He's on the transfer rumours. I've read that today.
He's a player. This boy can play. You know what? Get it to him. Get Watkins in running behind, and let's feed him.
Yeah.
But a bit disappointing. But fullback has come up with a pearl of a
Did you see the tactic? Have you ever seen the thing that Scott Parker said?
No, I've not seen that one.
So the goal, he whips it in from a while back, and I didn't see it at the time, obviously, as I said, but I've seen the clip since, and Parker and the fullback. So basically, they get the free kick, and Parker pulls him to the side of the touchline and passes it off. I'm pretending I'm doing a tactical, so he's got the old Glenn Hoddle. If you watch it on YouTube, he's doing all this kind of stuff. And actually, what he was saying to him was, look, don't forget what we've been talking about. Apparently what they've been talking about is the Brentford keeper, I don't know his name.
Comes out a lot for...
He's a starting point, is what they call aggressive. And they'd been Parker and his coaching staff had noticed this, so he was just kind of reminding, was it Brian, the fullback,
Yes, Brian.
Saying that thing, so it was absolutely deliberate. And now, I didn't see it live, and I saw some people saying the goalkeeper's fault. Well, let's see it again. I'm not too sure his footwork's not brilliant, but I think give the lad some credit. What a whip! And as it bounces, it goes in.
It's like the Gary McAllister one, Liverpool
years ago.
Where McAllister sees the goalkeeper in a very similar, aggressive coming out position, but makes it bounce off the turf. And once it hits that turf, it shoots off.
And that's what's done him more than anything.
Keepers can't get across.
But
it's that you take two steps one way, thinking you're going to go that way, and the ball.
And let's be honest, he's had that aggressive. Let's use the terminology. Goalkeeping position all season has probably not been done like that. He's not going to think twice about it. I just think fair play. And I think
you've got to give a lot of credit to Brian, because I've
absolutely
been in that position before. I've seen a goalkeeper come out, and I thought about it, and in my head I've gone, if I mess this up, I just wasted an opportunity to put a ball in the box, which is a creative and opportunity which might get us a goal. So every credit to Parker, every credit to Brian, having a go and executing at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. And back to just Brentford, it's a shame, isn't it? Because arguably, once it got real that they could have possibly go up automatically, they began to choke a bit. And then they managed. And I actually thought, once they got through the semi, because I thought they'd lose in the semi-final, just because of momentum and things like that, I thought, you know what, they'll probably do Fulham because of what you just said. They'll play some. He seems quite pragmatic, the manager, and the forward is certainly their strength. And what worries me now with clubs like that is you talk about the two front two already on the radars of Premiership clubs. Brentford can't afford, if somebody comes in, Liverpool come in, Spurs come in, Man United come in, 15 million for the strike, they can't afford to say no, can they?
No.
And then all of a sudden you've got to rebuild, and of course the manager's going to be high on people's agendas, isn't he? There's already talking of could he be at Watford? I know it'd be the same league, but with Fulham, it's unusual, isn't it, for Fulham to bounce straight back, and West Brom as well. So I think Watford will be looking to do that. So it's new ground as well at Brentford.
Yeah.
So interesting times. Did you notice what kit they played in before we move on?
No.
So they played in blue. Now,
Brentford played in blue,
yeah,
and red and white.
Yeah, because it was and forgive me, 100th, 150th, 75th, or some anniversary of the club, and apparently they were the original colours, like a navy and white.
So we did blaming them.
But as a Brentford fan, biggest game in the club's history now, and you go away from what everybody seemed. Don't know, just a little thing. But
you'll be like Man United grey kits next, won't you?
Yeah. You've got to look good, pal.
Yeah, right. While we're on talking about Championship, interesting news about Wigan and Sheffield Wednesday. I just think that English Football League needs to hang its head in shame. This is an absolute disgrace. Wigan relegated, docked 12 points, which there's question marks over if English Football Association should have done more to protect them.
Yeah.
Which I get that completely, but they've broke the rules. They've had the 12 points docked. Sheffield Wednesday broke the rules November, and have since had a ruling which says that next year they will start with a 12-point deduction. How is that even possible?
And you know what? I've read all the articles that appeared on the main news sports sites and things like that, and I've also done a bit further reading. I don't understand. I don't understand the difference, and I might be being stupid, probably are, but I don't understand the difference. And like you say, Sheffield Wednesday, they were charged with this back in November, December time, and then they were hearing in January, which incidentally was very low key. Now I don't know whether it was because of COVID and all that, they went under the radar a little bit. I'm not quite so sure, but I don't understand. And you're right, it's a disgrace.
I don't know what's happened with Derby because they've been done for something similar.
Yeah,
and nothing's come.
Where's the wage cap or the profit margin thing? Was there?
They again went through the same thing. I think they did exactly the same thing. They sold the ground, which then
that's what they own.
They sold the ground to the chairman on a different type of contract, which then meant that there were irregularities with the money. But I just don't understand. If Sheffield would have broke it this season, just the same Wigan have broke it at the latter end of the season.
And any club at any point.
Surely the punishment should be from that point. Yeah. Not, we've leagues already done. Because, right, Wigan still would have gone down.
Yeah.
But Charlton will sit there now, miffed because they've now taken that third spot.
Yeah.
And it should be Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah. And that's the part, because I think they were saying that Barnsley were ready to put a legal case if Wigan's 12 points were back added on and they'd got away with it or whatever it was. So what about Charlton now? What about Wigan appealing against theirs again or putting in a claim because Sheffield... It's just a mess. And you're dead right that the EFL has got to sort themselves out. I noticed, looking at some Twitter conversations going on around Lincoln City in some of the lower leagues. So Lincoln have actually released 2 or 3 of their better players, or what would probably seem to be ones that are on a higher wage, and they'd released them a while back, sort of saying COVID and they've signed for Burton, and there's obviously people having a bit of a ding dong about it. And Steve Thompson, who's a former Charlton player, actually Steve Thompson, Charlton player, Lincoln City, Boss United, etc. He was sort of saying the sooner that the wage cap is actually brought in, which is about now, I think, isn't it? The better, because and then everything's got to be black and white, hasn't it? When you come to laws of games or laws of administration, it has to be black and white. You can't have grey areas. Yeah,
and that's the problem, is when there are grey areas, people try and exploit them. Some will get away, some don't, and then people ask about consistencies.
But that is, I mean, if you're a Latics fan or you're a Wednesday fan on Owls, let us know what you think, because, well,
one's escaped, one hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, my brother's a Wednesday fan. I mean, he probably don't care that much, to be honest, here, Tom. But interesting enough, because it's massive. Because will Wigan get back? When will they get back in the Championship?
Yeah, and where was the money going to come from to support them if they're already in dire straits?
Absolutely right.
Absolutely. Bad news, unfortunately, for Wigan. Bad news again at the weekend for you. We're going to talk about it. Boston United didn't quite get over the line.
No, it's disappointing, mate. I was gutted.
I read the reports afterwards, and I know the gaffer's come out and he said keepers can't make mistakes like that. And
have you seen it though?
I haven't seen it. And I've heard it's an absolute howler. But from all accounts, there are times in the season where the keepers kept them in games and made great saves. But I get, that's probably one of the hardest positions to play as a goalkeeper, because one mistake loses you a game. As a striker, you miss a chance, you might not lose the game, you might still draw the game, or somebody else might pop up and score. You miss a tackle as a defender or a midfielder, there's still somebody else to cover you. Yeah. Goalkeepers, there's no hiding places.
And I think the problem is with Crook is that he's made 2 high-profile errors. One in the FA Cup, first round, second round, just before Christmas, the replay against at home, and he made a real bad error, chucked it in his own net. And then, of course, this one, it was a terrible error. But look, to be honest with you, Boston, they were decent first half, and probably should have had a couple of good chances at the post. Just should have been in the lead. And then, to be fair to Altrincham, they've got that goal from nowhere, and then have just managed the game better. And then, as things at Boston sort of panicked a little bit. But it didn't end the way that Boston United didn't give York Street the farewell that people wanted. Yeah. But more positive news. One floodlight has gone up at the new ground.
Wow.
I saw it on the live feed earlier.
Exciting times. So you've had nothing else to do today other than watch a floodlight go up on a live feed.
I mean, Scott Dalton put on, this is sexy. I mean, I'm not going as far as that, Scott, but so didn't end as well. But the only way's up. I think he's managed to keep hold of the majority of the players from this year. A couple have left, but obviously the main aim I suggest will be to try and get automatic next year and win the league. But
good luck.
We shall see.
Yeah, good luck, the Pilgrims. As Jack would say, the original Pilgrims.
The original Pilgrims, the original Boston. Come on.
Right, Scottish football started. Yeah. Rangers.
I watched that actually.
Good result. Yep. Good result. Very, very difficult first game away to Aberdeen. I'm going to throw this out there now. Crowds no crowds are going to have an impact?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I actually watched that game. There's nothing else going on, and you were away, so I had no mates. And the wife was watching something rubbish on whatever she was watching, so I actually watched it, and I actually watched the build-up on Sky. And McCoy's was on there, Fletcher, I can't think who the other fellow was, but McCoy's in particular was saying that he hated going to play Petodry at Aberdeen because he said the crowds were awful to you as a Rangers fan. And he was saying that obviously they won't get that today, so maybe it was a little bit easier, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to say that Celtic and Rangers are going to walk away with it completely up until the point where crowds are allowed back in, because if there's anything about Scottish football I've known through friends who are Scottish fans, is that the intensity of the games on match day, where they go to the grounds and they make it as hostile as possible, will have an impact on the players. And the fact that there is no fans there to help G up Aberdeen and help G up Dundee, whoever else is playing, means it's just solely down to the 11v11, and Rangers and Celtic are hands down better than everybody else.
Yeah, so it's a good result, and Celtic won. So it is. Yeah, I agree. It's going to be between those two. But interesting enough, I don't know if you picked up on this at any point, Stu, while you were away. But on TalkSport, and then it flew around that O'Hara and Ali McCoy had a bit of a ding dong about.
Yeah, you sent it me over. I did read it.
So, and I kind of see both sides of the argument. This is what I think. Rangers are clearly a bigger club than Bournemouth.
Yes,
clearly a bigger club. A bigger club than a lot of English clubs, to be perfectly frank. You know, if you were to put them in the Premiership, and before anybody starts shouting at me, I'm not talking about ability, I'm talking about the size of the club. They would be in...
They're a Premiership club.
Definitely. Top 6, top 7, top 8 club, as in supporters base and the size, as with Celtic.
Yeah.
In terms of the bigger job, is it a bigger job to win the league for Rangers, or is it a bigger job to try and get Bournemouth back up? I still think it's a bigger job to win Rangers the league. I know it's only a 2-horse race, but they've not won it for 10 years or more.
Yeah, well, it's 10 years to go for, isn't it?
Yeah. So, you know, I get the point. I think what O'Hara was saying, I also understand that actually, if Joe was offered the job to get Bournemouth back up, it would be a big job, and it would be a hell of a job to go. And obviously, the lure of Premiership football is on the end of it. But to say it's a bigger job or a bigger club or whatever he's doing is completely wrong, isn't it?
Did he not say Rangers were as big a club as Man City? Is that not what I
or is that's what McCoy then said? McCoy was then saying that he needed breathalyzer for coming on and saying something like that, because he was saying that Rangers are a big club. And they are. There's no question that actually probably that in British football clubs, and forget about ability, forget about achievements at the minute, Man United, Liverpool, then the 2 Glasgow clubs? Bigger than the 2 North London clubs?
No, I wouldn't say... Well, all I'll say then, in argument to that, is Brendan Rodgers left Celtic about to win the league and the Cup to take over Leicester. So, where does that then put in perspective? Is it because Brendan Rodgers wanted a challenge?
Yeah.
Or did he think that Leicester was a big as club as Celtic that he could see progressing and making? There's no argument that fan base and supporter base, they are big clubs. If you're talking about ability, I'd say the mid-table at best.
Yeah.
At best. I think Rangers would fight relegation fight. Celtic would be mid-table. But
with the potential to be better, because they've probably got more money.
And I think when you look at it in European terms, is that Celtic's aim is to get into the group stages and then see where it goes from there. They're never going to qualify. Rangers is to try and get into the group stages, if not do well, and get out of the group stage of the Europa League.
He's done okay the Europa League. Yeah. They'll probably go out tonight.
Buying Leverkusen tonight. But Celtic on any given day, like they beat Barcelona at home, didn't they, a few years ago? I
don't know, it's interesting. Join us, see what you think. It is difficult. They're massive clubs, aren't they?
Massive clubs in their country, which I don't know if that gives us a slightly skew view, because there's so many Celtic fans out there because they're Scottish, and there's only really 2 big clubs to support. Yeah. Meanwhile, maybe in England we're a little bit more diluted, because you basically support everybody apart from Man United. You support the team in your area. Yeah. Everybody in London supports Man United.
I don't know. I still think that Rangers and Celtic, in terms of size of clubs and achievements in the past, I think they're definitely in the top 6, top 8 in Britain.
Yeah, I'd maybe say top 8 for me. Top 8.
But yeah, I don't know whether Gerrard. I just think Gerrard's man-made to come to Liverpool when Klopp calls it a day. I think that's. I would go as far as to say, Stu, that's already a done deal.
I'm saying unless Gerrard does something well with Rangers, I don't want him at Liverpool.
Oh, did you hit Liverpool fans?
Listen,
and he's an absolute Gerrard fan as well.
No, I absolutely love Gerrard. I've grown up watching Gerrard and I idolise him. But at the end of the day, Gerrard is a legend as a player, but he needs to prove himself. It's I don't know. It's like going from Klopp being like one of the best managers in the world to going to somebody that's at the moment not proving himself.
And that's interesting. Is it? Why is he not proving himself? Would it, if he wins the league at Rangers, is that enough?
I would say that Gerrard needs to win the league at Rangers and then go and do something with somebody else.
Oh, there you go. So
I would say 8 to 10 years, Gerrard.
And that's the standard of Scottish football more than Rangers as a football club, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Although there's pressures, before we move on, there is pressures at those clubs, which you probably wouldn't get at, I don't know, mid-table club, Southampton, somewhere like that.
It's a goldfish ball, isn't it?
Oh, massive.
Scottish football is goldfish ball.
Huge. Yeah.
Right, transfers. So, Jack, I want to start off with a question. You've mentioned this before on the podcast. You've spoken to me about this. You think that there's not going to be many transfers this window?
Yeah, twofold thing. First of all, and I knew it never happened, and I'll say it again, I said it before, is that I think there should have been a ban on transfers during this period. And I think yesterday's announcement that Arsenal, in one breath, they're offering a 3-year deal plus an option of an extra year at 100 and something thousand a week for Willian, who's 30 odd years old or whatever it is. And in the next press statement, they're saying they can't afford it, they're making 55 people redundant. Kind of backs up that idea for me. However, we all knew that was never going to happen. So yeah, I thought, I don't think there'd be much movement. Maybe I was hoping so, because obviously if transfers with Kane always comes along, etc. But it seems that there's already has been a few, hasn't there? We've only been open 5 days or whatever, or 6 days.
I think complete opposite to you. I think that there will be transfer this summer, and I think it's going to be. At the moment, I think the big boys are going to go and fight it out. So your Man City's, Man United's, Liverpool very quiet at the moment, which it's not unknown Liverpool to be quiet and then suddenly just pop something out from nowhere. Spurs very quiet. Arsenal started to get themselves involved in a few things. But I think them guys will battle out. Top end transfers will happen. I think the people that will be more affected would be middle of the table, lower end teams that usually spend 20, 30 million on players. They're going to be teams, like Everton have always fought out. I think Everton will have to get rid before they can start bringing players in. But I think the big boys can actually start the economy for the transfer market. So you look at, let's look at United's situation at the moment. They're currently agreeing a deal where it's going to be 100 million for Jadon Sancho. I think it's like 130 million euros. So 130 million euros, and it's going to be 100 million euros up front. From that, Dortmund will then start to use that money.
They've already spent some on Bellingham, haven't they?
So Birmingham are going to receive a chunk of that money. They'll then start investing, and then what will happen is, in turn for that, Birmingham will then have a pot of money, and they'll start to then recruit. And so I think it's going to be down to the big boys to kickstart the football transfer economy. In that
and you actually said a few weeks back that if that happened, you think that any percentage of what the big boys spend on a Premiership side spend should be filtered down all the way to the lower leagues.
Yeah.
Obviously, the biggest fear is that lots of the people lower league, non-league, are going to go out of business. So, for example, very quick, I've noticed this morning as I was reading around that Droylsden from the Northern Premier have resigned from the league and all cup competitions.
Wow.
Because they can't afford it. I think they're still going to run as a, I don't know, Saturday morning footy team. I don't know.
Yeah, but you could just try and
ride it out until COVID's back. But we don't want that happening to. No. We don't want that happening to any club. So I think, your idea that you spoke about a few weeks back would be good. Again, never going to happen.
No, but I think what the best we can look for at the moment is that Chelsea spending big, United are about to spend big, City have already started spending big. What you're hoping from is that the next team then uses that money to buy players, and then what that will happen is that will filter down and down and down, and then unfortunately, like the likes of Lincoln will sell their best players, but won't be able to replace them.
Yeah.
But at least then it keeps them alive for another season.
Yeah, they've got some football, and probably fans need to just take a bit of a realistic view of those guys who are supporting clubs in League 1, League 2, Conference, even some of the Champions. Just say, actually, if we can just not get relegated this year and we're keep our heads above water financially, that'll be a good season.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting for the loan markets. Loan markets, I think, would be quite heavy.
And a cup run becomes important then.
Oh, massively, especially FA Cup. It's worth so much. But also just while we're talking here, just light bulb moment is that could this be the year that we get to blood more young English players?
Yeah.
That we send them off to the Championship and the League One, and they get more game time because the Championship have had to sell their better players to some of the Premiership teams that are struggling. And that money is used to keep them going. So then they start introducing. So this, let's imagine Nico Williams wasn't as good as he was, but then he goes to Preston North End and he gets a full season playing there. And I know Williams, that would benefit Wales, but is there not other English players out there that could do with that?
Dead same. I mean, Tottenham have done that with Parrott already. He signed a loan deal at Millwall, again Irish, but and there's talk of potentially Oliver Skip going, who Mourinho really rates.
Yeah.
Has already said he's future captain of the club, but obviously feels he's not quite ready to be first choice. And obviously with Winks in there and other people, I don't think they'll get rid of Ndombele. They're looking at getting what's his face from Southampton, which I'm not entirely sure of. But I haven't got a problem with that if then Skip then goes out and, like say, alone, the talk of him going to Fulham. So even in the Premiership would be beneficial to clubs and potentially England for something like Skip.
Yeah, I think so, and I'm hoping this does help the English football does get a bit more game time. But what I've done is I've gone into some of the clubs and had a look at some of the transfers that are going on at the moment. Some have been confirmed, some are still a little bit wayside. So I'm going to start with Chelsea. For me, Chelsea's biggest issue is a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And
spent a lot of money on him, didn't they?
Yeah, a lot of money for what can only be described as an average keeper. Came highly rated, hasn't stepped up to the mark. When it's come to the big games, he's dropped him and brought in William Caballero, which tells you everything you need to know about Frank's trust in this goalie.
Yeah.
Supposedly there's a lot of interest for him back in Spain, but Chelsea won't be able to recoup that money. They'll be looking at maybe a third of the price, especially in the current times. But then it's interesting in what Chelsea are buying at the moment or have bought and the players they're interested in. So I'm going to throw out, they've got Ross Barkley.
Yeah.
They've got... what's the other? Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount, very similar players to each other. And now
Hudson-Odoi.
Hudson-Odoi more of a winger, but I'm going to sit with them three. And then they're linked with Havertz from Bayern, who is, for me, same as the three lads we've just mentioned. Yeah. So I'm like, right, so he's gone out and bought him. He's bought Hakim, the one I mentioned last week, but obviously he's lost Pedro and he's potentially going to lose Williams, so I'd get that, he'll replace that.
They've got Werner as well.
Yeah, and they've got Werner, but then they've got Giroud, they've got Abraham, Batshuayi's still there.
Yeah, you see, so, I think that...
What's Chelsea's formation going to be? One goalkeeper, two defenders, and everybody else plays attack?
Yeah, and ironically, I think in the FA Cup final, they need some defenders, because the defender in that game, by both sides really, but particularly Chelsea, was awful.
Did you know, and this only came to light the other day, is that they had buy-out clause to get Aki back?
Yes, I knew that.
They had 72 hours to match the bid that City put in, and then they would buy him back, and they didn't. And
for 40 million, I don't think that's bad, is it? Which links, I see you've got Man City written down there, links in. Aki, I'll ask you a question. I think we said before, I rate him. I haven't got an issue with, I think, actually, when we was out the other night, Matt was saying, yeah, but he's been relegated. And you rightly said, don't worry about relegated players. Yeah. I thought Tottenham went for him for a little while, but obviously not, or maybe too much money, whatever it might be. But how does Nathan Ake play with Laporte? Because we've said before, nobody agreed that Laporte disagrees. So that Laporte is their best defender.
Yeah.
So how do they play together? Because they're both left-footed.
Yeah, so we'll move on to Man City now. So basically, right, so we're looking at Man City. Man City bought Ake, as well as a couple others, but I don't think when you play, I played many times as centre half, and you end up with two right-footed centre halves.
Yeah.
For the majority of the time, anyway. You just go with the. I always say to the centre half, do you feel comfortable on your left? For me, it makes no difference. If it comes on my left foot, I'm going to swing it anyway. These are professional footballers. If it comes on their right foot, they'll swing it, and they'll have enough time, because you look at the teams now. Is the majority of teams when they play Man City, Liverpool, drop deep. Yeah. They say let the centre halves have it. So it's never going to be they're going to be under pressure to use that right foot to play a great pass. Everybody sits off them. Yeah. And the chances are they're going to get it and they're going to play it into a centre midfielder who's going to come deep, play it in there, and then they'll swing out to the full-backs.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of that. I don't know, it's just a point. It's just bizarre that, I think left foot is not a bit different to right foot, though. Or is that just a perception?
I think it's perception that left footers always strike the ball sweeter, but she's probably correct. But I just think that's another nail in the coffin for John Stones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stones or Otamendi, one of them's got to go because they've brought Garcia in as well now. He's been blooded and looks a decent young prospect.
I think Stones needs to go. I think that, and this might be a bit controversial, I guess. I think for all Pep's wonder, and you can't argue with his record, and people might say, yeah, but he goes into clubs that are already man-made, have already got a thing, and he didn't succeed in Man City's first year until he bought, so take that argument. But what he's very good at, he ruins players quickly. He's ruined Joe Hart, and we talked about that the other week wrongly. He's going along the same road with John Stones, and I completely agree. Stones needs to get out of there, go back to Everton, go to Liverpool.
Yeah, I tell you what is funny is that I was listening to a report the other day about Pep Guardiola, and the pundits love Pep Guardiola, and they were saying that Pep Guardiola is the best person for developing young talent, because they're saying that he's developed this person, he's developed Sterling. Right, okay, you've talked about 3 or 4 really good players he's developed, but then you've not talked about Joe Hart that ended up leaving the club and is now not playing with anybody. Stones that came with such a high reputation, and even in that programme they build him up on that Amazon documentary, and he's never been able to fulfil.
His big
and
thing.
The fullbacks have been diabolical, apart from Kyle Walker. Every fullback they brought in, Mendy is always injured.
Zinchenko, whatever's not.
He's
not
good.
Nah.
He's not for that level.
Interesting. He's big on that. Then he's got a big one, hasn't he, with young Phil Foden, because he's class.
Yeah, he's potential wise.
He has to play.
Yeah,
and he says he's going to do, doesn't he? That's why he's not interested in replacing David Silva, I think, because he's got Phil Foden. So
they've got 2 other players that they've brought in. They've got this Brazilian wonder kid, which is a strange buy. They bought this lad that's never played a first team match. They bought him and they've sent him back straight to the club on loan. So he's one for the future. I think he's only 17 years old. But Ferreira or Ferran, it's Ferrer Torres. But I always thought it was Fernando. I was like, they've got another Fernando.
Yeah, no,
but it's not. It's Ferrer Torres.
Yeah.
Supposedly, the reports is that they've got him for 20 million, and this kid is brilliant.
Yeah.
They're saying this kid will just walk straight into the first team. He's left-footed but can use his right. Very, very good at going at people and around people. 20 years old. They're saying straight away he is worth double that. You should have paid more than that for him. And the interesting thing was that Borussia Dortmund wanted him, and they were going to buy him, but they didn't want to buy him until they'd sold Sancho. But Sancho, things gone on too long, that now City have gone in and bought him. But there's also rumours that City paid 20 million, but they've added in a lot of extras to give Valencia more money because they want to keep the relationship between the 2 clubs sweet. And there's a City player going back in the opposite direction, some young up-and-coming talent that's going to go on loan later on in the season. But fancy football people, City are a funny team to pick anyway.
Would he play though?
That's it, is if he plays. But this Ferreira Torres, watch out, because he's supposed to be on fire.
There we go.
But yeah, they've also been linked with Koulibaly.
Yeah.
Again, that just doesn't seem to be going away. But again, if you just bought Ake and you've got a list of other players, do you need Koulibaly? Is that another 80 million that you didn't need to spend?
Unless they're going to offload 2 or 3.
Yeah, the one I did see today that they are linked with is the Italian striker. Well, he's not. I think he's Argentinian, but he plays in Italy. Martinez.
Yeah.
I think he would be the one. He'd be the one if I was Pep Guardiola going, right, this is it.
I've said before that he is striker.
Aguero is as good as he's been. He's slowly on his way out.
Yeah. Jesus
is not going to lead your line. He's not going to win Aguero. It's going to get you 30 odd. But this Martinez has been banging them in Italy. So I think he would be a good. I think he's only 21, 22. Great replacement. Get him in now. Aguero sees out this last season. Martinez does his support thing. Get Jesus out the door. Martinez leads the line from the season after. But if that would be me. If I was Pep, forget Koulibaly, have a look at Martinez. Move on to Manchester United. Finally got rid of Sanchez today.
Yeah, today gone, hasn't he?
Isn't it funny how he's been on fire this year for Inter? Really picked up.
I think he's a good player, isn't he?
He is a good player. I think something happened, didn't it, at Arsenal towards the end of his time there. United paid over the odds, and I think it was United trying to put the big boy pants on and show City there was still the threat in the market. Paid over the top, paid him stupid amounts of money, and then Sanchez just was quite happy sitting picking up
And
his
to be
money.
fair to him, though, he's cancelled his contract, which is like back to Bale. That's something that I'd like to see him do.
Yeah.
So let's just rip that contract up and let me go play. I don't care where he goes and plays, but it's a fair play to Sanchez. Yeah, and Inter Milan look a decent outfit, don't they?
Yeah, they look like they could be a threat with Lukaku up top as well. He seems to be, I think he's on 30 goals this season. But Jadon Sancho's not over the line yet.
No,
it seems to be just
imminent. I think before we came on air or come to record, I was reading it's imminent, but it's been imminent for. It's obviously going to happen.
Yeah, it's a couple of weeks now. But I think the agreement, the stumbling block is the amount of money up front.
Yeah,
I think Dortmund want a lot more up front. United want a little bit more of a structure, so they give a little bit more later on. But yeah, it looks like, and it's going to be some player.
Yeah, and he's going to get the number 7 shirt.
I'm a bit disappointed because I really like Jadon Sancho. Now I'm going to have to.
There was a little bit of a whisper that he might end up at Liverpool at one point.
Unfortunately, Liverpool, I can't work them out. You know, like we sold Coutinho, invested that money so well, didn't buy anybody last season. I'm thinking we must have a decent pot size now. We're in the Premiership, not bought anybody for 12 months, and then we just keep picking up these little small players. So the only people that are through the door, they bought a Polish 16-year-old goalkeeper and a Polish winger who's 17 years old as future development projects, along with that Setberg from last season, a gingerhead centre-half. But I don't know, they just...
You would think that as well as they played this year, and, you know, they were way above everybody, well, certainly way above most of the team, you know, and fully deserved the league, not a problem. You would think, though, that the rest of the clubs, you know, you're not rocket science. Man City are going to improve, and they weren't far away from. Let's be honest. I know points wise they were, but they weren't that far away from them. And Man United looked like they're getting there a bit. Chelsea have obviously improved this season. You would look and go Spurs under Mourinho if they carry on, but not to buy anybody would be. Well, it wouldn't be good, would it?
No, sitting still is not good in this game.
Yeah.
You need to continuously move forward. I would say that Liverpool would potentially really need... There's talk about Thiago coming. He'd be a good asset. Good, nice little footballer. He'd be a good asset, but I think we need another striker because...
Yeah, I think you need a goal scorer, number 9. I've said that to you before.
As much as I like Origi, he's only ever going to be a bit part player.
Yeah.
And he's quite happy doing that.
You know... Maybe it's because some of these clubs are going to wait because the transfer window is quite long, isn't it? It's only finished till October, which I don't like. I know it's different this year, but I don't like the fact it eats into the start of the following season. I never have done. I think they got it right last year, but I know we're in different times, so maybe they're going to wait. But like I say, you can't stand still because if they stand still, you know, they could. You know, they went out earlier than they wanted to in the Champions League this year, and okay, they won the league. That was a pinnacle, brilliant. But it will need to continue that momentum, won't it, for your fans as much as anything else?
Well, yeah, you've got players that come into the end of the contract and end of their timeline. So when Alden's in his last year's contract, Milner's got to
be there.
Yeah, he's on his last days. He's very fit.
It still wouldn't surprise me if he goes to Leeds.
Yeah. So Chiata started to look a bit more of a player, but it still needs, you know, a couple of injuries. If Salah goes out or Mane goes out from that time. There's even cover for the full-back position. Yeah. So you've got Nico Williams potentially could cover Alexander for a little bit, but he's not a long-term.
You ain't got a left-back, have you?
Left-back would be a struggle, then it goes back to Milner.
Yeah, it's interesting, but in Jurgen you trust.
Of course we do, absolutely. Right, last, we'll go whole transfers there.
Yeah.
Arabian Gulf League, which is interesting, Jack.
Uh-huh.
On the 3rd of next month,
okay,
is the start of the Cup. They start the first round of the Cup.
Before
they start the league, and the league starts the week after. So I've been at Jack last couple of weeks saying, right, Jack, we need to pick up a team. So, Jack, would you like to announce to the listeners who's going to be your team for the Arabian Gulf?
So the Arabian Gulf League team that I'm going to follow, Al Nazir.
Oh, the one that David Silva happens to be linked with.
Now, come on, I trained with them before David Silva. Remember that?
Right. So
we've got a picture. Remember that?
Yeah. So we'll put this in context. We play a five-a-side on a pitch which happens to touch Al Nasir's training pitch.
I've got a photograph. We'll upload the photograph as evidence.
So that's Jack's version of training with Al Nasir.
Yeah, so we're going to follow Al Nasir this year.
I've got a trial with him, haven't I, Johnny?
Oh, yeah, Johnny. He was watching, and Stu put on a few tricks. So we said that he'd got a trial, and Johnny did believe him for it to begin with. But yes, Al Nasir. Who are you going to follow, Stu?
I'm going to follow Shabib Al Al Ahly.
Easy for you to say.
It is. I've picked the worst team to say. This is purely because of my story last week. That's who Wasfi played for professionally.
Incidentally, though, they have won the league about 3 times.
It turns out they've not won it for about 4 seasons.
Oh, is that right? Sharjah were the reigning champions.
Yes, but they play in Liverpool red.
Okay.
That's also a deciding factor.
I can't work out what colour Al Nazir played. I've been trying to look at it.
Yeah,
they were in green one week training, and then they were in blue.
Green, white.
I don't know training kits now, mate. No odds, but I don't know. So you never know. We're going to look at, and hopefully, with a few contacts, we're going to try and get in and do some bits with these clubs, aren't we?
I've had a look. My team's ground is the other side of the airport, so I've looked at it. It's only 22 minutes away from here.
My team play at the Maktoum Stadium, I think.
Yes, so I think, are you...
in Kuram, next door to Kuram.
Yes, I don't... Because I'm sure I've been down there. I'm sure there's a nice little bar there called Leisureland.
Ah, there we go. Well, watch this space, but it does start. So the Arabian Gulf League starts 3rd of about a month's time, 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks' time. So what we're going to do is at some point we'll head out there. So if anybody fancies joining S&J on an evening trip to watch the Arabian Gulf League, you're more than welcome.
And hopefully that rumour of signing David Silva comes to fruition for the boys.
Yes, we will see. Also, coming to the UAE, IPL, Jack, this is your...
Very excited. So obviously the IPL would have been all over by now. Usually sort of April to May in India. Obviously cancelled, postponed, and out of the blue really. So the ICC World T20 was cancelled. That was meant to take place October, November in Australia. Obviously cancelled. And then all of a sudden it was rumoured that the IPL was going to start. And obviously India is still struggling with thousands of cases. So a long story short, it starts here on September the 12th or 19th for 6 or 7 weeks. So I'm really excited about that because clearly all the world's best players are going to be here. In and around, dotted around all the grounds that I'll be training at and playing at. So our season starts in 2 weeks. I found out today. So 2 weeks tonight, Stu. First game at the stadium.
Wowzers.
So there you go.
Does that mean I have to come along and watch?
Well, you mean...
Maybe I should come along and when he goes out to bat.
You could do some live.
I'll do some live footage and then it should last all the 2 balls, Jack?
Yeah. So remember that story I said about my county debut, yeah. So the IPL's really exciting. So, I mean, I'm assuming at this point that it's behind closed doors, but... hopefully they might let a few in and I'll certainly be there, definitely.
Yeah. Who's the team we should look out for? Or who should we know from back home? So
the CSK, Chennai Super Kings are the ones who play in all yellow, led by MS Dhoni. So they I think they're the most successful team in IPL history. They play. And then the other guys, trying to think of the team. Stokes plays for the team in pink. I'm trying to think what they're called. Along with Steve Smith, so he's been retained. Mumbai Indians are really popular. Josh Butler, he'll play for them. They're the blue team with a bit of gold. That's Sachin Tendulkar's franchise, if you like. But I mean, I suppose it's all wide open, and lots of them. I mean, the England boys going across would have played some cricket. A lot of the other countries might have done. So, yeah, it's actually really exciting. Actually, really big.
Right. I'm going to pick the pink team.
Pick the pink team then.
Yeah.
Rajasthan Royals, that's who they are.
Rajasthan, right. I'm going to be Rajasthan Royals.
Okay. Well, I'll go for the Mumbai Indians then.
Yeah, you pick the favourites, don't you?
Yeah, I'll try to think of... No, actually, I'll have a look. Where they... I did follow the Rajasthan Royals last time because of Stokes. The other team that did well, Bairstow and Sunrisers Hyderabad, Johnny Bairstow and David Warner. Hopefully that all comes off. It's definitely been confirmed, but obviously they've got to get him out here now. And I'm not quite sure how the Bulls are going to work here, though.
No,
to be honest with you. But obviously, we're hoping you never know. We might come across them all on our travels, Stu.
Yes, we'll be out and about. Maybe when we speak to Chris Brown on Saturday, maybe he could help us out.
Yeah, we'll get in there and have an interview with one or two of the world's best sportsmen.
That would be good. Good. Right, fight camp.
Brilliant.
So Hearn has decided, in his wisdom, to... Well, it's funny because I was reading an article about it, is that Hearn has decided that he's already had one fight card in his back garden.
Yeah. Well,
just decided to construct a boxing ring in his back garden.
And a bubble. I mean, I read this a few weeks back and I kind of didn't really take much notice of it because I thought it was like a bit of a joke. You know, Eddie Hearn's a bit of a lad in here. But yeah, and then last week, I forgot it was on, but then did see some footage of it following that. Like, I mean, we say house... It's about as big as Buckingham Palace by the looks of the thing. This great big guy, he's got a full ring in there. But fantastic, to be fair, to him to do it. I don't know it's a money thing, but
you say it's a money thing because he's footing them all up, isn't he?
Yes,
and he's put them in a local hotel. So all the fighters that are involved, for people aren't aware, they have to stay in this hotel throughout the duration of this fight camp, and then they come and fight, and they have to train within a certain area. Yeah. And he's footing the bill for that, and he's actually turned around and said, "Well, I don't know how much it's going to cost me in the long run." But he has put a pay-per-view fight on at the end to try and recoup some money. But just before you carry on, did you see that interview the other day that he did?
Oh yeah, when he swore.
He thought he was like they were messing about. Yeah. And he goes, "Shaman, and he beep, but he didn't beep it out. Yeah. And then he realised it was live.
It was live. We are actually live. The spot. Brilliant. To pretty home. But what I do like, and what we might actually discuss a bit more next week, is the fact that his big fight this week is a female fight.
Yeah.
World Championship fight between
Terry Harper and Natasha Jones.
Yeah. First ever all British female world title fight. Because I think, and we did mention this a few weeks back, that I think women's sport has gone way off the radar during lockdown. And I think that's pretty poor from lots of players. I know that things are happening, but it seemed that like the football world seemed very quickly to shut down those leagues. I know the England women cricketers are now in a bio-bubble in Derby, and will play some fixtures, obviously coming up. But it's gone very quiet, the female world of sport, and I think fair play to him to do that.
Yeah, and it's funny how we mentioned it on here maybe about 10 weeks ago, 12 weeks ago, and suddenly Sky Sports have written
they're having a big debate show this week, huh?
Unbelievable, Jeff.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, it's good. I believe there's 5 fights per bill for the Eddie Hearn fight. That's the limit you can go to. And the last fight is going to be the 22nd, which is Dillian Whyte versus Potkin.
Oh, Povetkin, yeah.
Which is a strange one because Povetkin's like a seasoned pro now. He's 40-something.
Yeah.
But I think Dillian Whyte's too young either, though, is he?
No, I don't think no.
So I think that'll be a big...
But it's a big fight because
they'll hard-hitting fight.
They'll come on the radar for AJ and Wilder and Fury and all that kind of... Yeah. But I think it's great, and actually if you watch it, if you've got Sky, it's all like all the Sky presenters are there, and I think they have to go into it. They get tested for COVID on a Monday. As soon as they get it all clear, they're then in the bubble at Hearn's house / hotels down the road, and they can't leave. And it is amazing what some of these sports organisations are doing to keep us entertained. Yeah, and it's great and fair play. So good luck to what I did see a bit at the press conference. It gets fast between those two women, by the way, and the trainers.
What is it?
It was Natasha Jones turned up late to the bio bubble with her trainer Gallagher, and even Hearn says, Gallagher does what he wants.
Wow.
And it was feisty. Look
forward to
good.
Right, Jack boy, it's your time. Yeah,
so let's just throw a bit of a curveball in here for you, and just as a final farewell to York Street, I think. So obviously, Boss United's home ground. Well, when I was a bit younger and a bit fitter, Stu, I did play a little bit of football, and it would have been when I was at university, so playing a lot for the university's second team, third team, so not a bad level. Do a job, as you've seen, defensive. At the same time, my old man was involved at Boss United, and I believe the first team had an FA Cup game. So obviously in those days, it was only 3 subs. So we're talking 99-2000 season. There were only 3 subs usually in a league fixture, but with FA Cup, you could then obviously take 5. So anyway, Dad lost a few players. I think there's a few injuries around. I happened to be back for the weekend, or it might have been just after Christmas, so I might have been home from holiday for uni. 1 or 2 of the academy boys were back home, and so Chris Cook had given them sort of two weeks off, blah, blah, blah. So in essence, he was a bit short on his bench, and he said, do you want to go play on a Saturday for the league side I was playing for, like local league, or would you mind helping me out to sit on the bench? He said, I'll come for decent, isn't it? Decent. I did it for like 4 weeks. Anyway, I'd been on the bench a couple of times that I've got. He was never really going to use me, and I used to help him out anyway, doing kit and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they were playing at home at York Street, so I was in the dugout, subs bench, I was like, I'm loving this. And playing against Highcombe, who were a decent side, but physical from Lincoln, nasty team. Anyway, Boston are 5-0 up at half time. And the reserves are 5-0 up, and they're playing some lovely stuff. And that's just keep your head, because you know what's coming, you know what's going to come after this barrage of like physicality. Because a young side, I mean, what would I then? 20 then, and the captain for the day, Lee Taylor, a good friend of mine, he was my age, 20s. So they had a young side. Dad had a young side there, and lo and behold, what happened? So first 5-10 minutes, tackles flying left, right, and centre, and actually somebody wasn't that old actually who was captain for that day. Neil Timbers playing at right back. Now Neil is, I don't know, must be maybe 5-6 years older than me, maybe a bit more, I don't know Neil. Anyway, just in front of the dugout I can see it, he got a horrific tackle, snapped his ankle in half. Horrific tackle. Anyway, on the bench, I think he'd used defenders wise as me and then another lad, but he was really young, like 15, 16, something, one of the academy boys. But clearly a better footballer than what I was, so I was expecting him to go on, and Dad said, nah, get on. So I was playing at full back. So I've had about 40 minutes. And to be fair, I've done well. Done a couple of tackles there, crossed a couple of balls in.
Do I need to ask Big John?
Yeah, you can ask him. Big John. Before my hammer toe, so I could kick the ball up properly, rather than, 5 yards. But the funny thing is, and this is what I'm going to leave you with, so I don't know how long, midway through, or 15 minutes ago, something like that, Tat's gone down our left side. As a fullback, I've got round the back, just as I've been told like that.
No, you've not.
I have perfect defending, mate. Shots come in, Lee Crew in goal. Crew saved it, and as he saved it, it's rebounded and it's hit me on the knee, and I managed to control it, and I'm trying to I want him to come and collect it, but anyway, I panic. I panic, and I thought, I need to collect this out, so I've cleared it, but I've forgotten where I am, and I'm at York Street end, and I've banged it in the top corner. Own goal.
Great finish though.
Unbelievable, top bins. So when everybody says, what are your memories of Yorkshire, I scored top corner, pal.
Yeah, just don't tell me who it's for.
Absolutely right, but there you go. So not a cricket story this week, but a football one just to twist your mind.
Excellent, thank you very much for that, Jack.
Goodbye York Street.
Yes, goodbye York Street on that one. Right, this week we have Platinum List live with Chris Brown on Saturday. So if anybody's interested, log into that one. Jack, first ever live show.
Live show, I don't know.
Anything could happen. Anything could happen, literally. We could have one of them unbelievable Jeff moments.
Do we need like Chris? I don't know, Jeff. I don't know. So that's going to be live at the Raddy Red in conjunction with the Platinum List. 6 o'clock-ish UAE time.
6 p.m. UAE time, so 3 p.m. back for you guys back in the UK.
And I think that's going to go through Platinum List Live's Facebook.
Yeah,
our Facebook
should
page,
go through, and then hopefully through our YouTube as well. So should be plenty of ways to watch that.
And if you don't catch it live, you can always catch. Well, maybe we could be on demand, Stu.
Oh my goodness! Oh my! Next, you'll be telling us about pay-per-view.
Well, aim high, my friends.
Box office. Please get on to our apps, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and anything else you can rate and review us. Helps us out. So big thanks. Thank you for listening. But at the end of the day, Jack,
what do we know?
Hey, it's Joe Mango. When you think of X to buy, you might just think of the Jetpack Man. It's a lot more than that, and today I'm going to show you why. Let's go. If he can do it, so can you.
Hey, it's Noah. If you want to come to X Dubai Skate Park and skate with me, just go to platinumlist.net.
Noah, why are you taking my job, bro? That's my line.